This is episode number 292 of the InnerFight podcast, brought to you by Smith Street Paleo. Remember, they will give you a goodie bag full of all their treats. So if you just hop over to iTunes, rate and review the podcast, let us know you did it. In this episode, we connect with the man himself, James Jowsey from the UK, talking all things movement. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another edition of the podcast, folks, and this time joined all the way from the UK, Mr. James Jowsey. James, thanks a lot for taking out the time to join us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Not at all. This is actually, we should really tell everyone, this is the second time we've tried to record this. Few technical issues the last time, so mate, we're especially appreciative for your time. Mate, just to get things going, I think your background is important, and it'll go to where we're going with the chat. So just tell us a little bit about your career, because you started off really as a footballer and then moved into something quite different.
Yeah, I was a footballer from, all my life. Played or signed professional forms at Manchester United. So I was there till I was about 20 years old. And yeah, during that whole time, being a professional, I was kind of interested in the strength and conditioning, nutrition, and just looking after yourself as an athlete. Right. Probably one of the only ones that was. But yeah, things didn't work out. It was one of the many statistics that were nearly men. And yeah, I'd moved into personal training from there, and sports therapy. And when I started training people, I quickly became interested in, when I was giving coaching cues, the ability of the person in front of me to take that cue and make it work it differed from person to person. And I was like, why is this person stupid? Yeah. Like, why do they not understand what I'm telling them?
I think all coaches struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is, and like, since I've done all my study and developed as a coach, nobody is stupid. They're just moving. Their body has lost muscular control, joint control, neurological control. So actually, they're only accessing the areas of their body that they can use. So the movement, they're convinced they're keeping their chest up, but they're not. Yeah. But they're trying to. Yeah, and it's just whether they've messed themselves up on a football pitch like me, or whether they've sat at a desk all their life. Like all the sports we've done create different tightnesses in joints, loosenesses in joints, and then likewise into muscles. And onwards there, so the body just goes with whatever stimulus it's been given for the most time.
So, mate, it sort of starts there a lot with movement, doesn't it? Because I think you nailed something. Like, people generally think that their chest is in an upright position, or shoulders are back and stuff. So, is that the start of movement and actual body awareness? And how, like, what issues are we seeing there, and how do we start to break that down? Because as a coach, like, we've all come across it, and I think as people that have been coached as well, it's also a massive issue. I don't think it's one way. I don't think it's just the coach or just the student. I think it's sort of, as coaches, we've also had those issues. So where do we start from then?
That is the $1 million question. I mean, like, I was recently over in Abu Dhabi at Yaz, and I was doing an assessment on one of the girls there who's been doing CrossFit for a few years, and like, she still squats, immature squat, so to say. But she was a ballet dancer. Right. So this girl was a ballet dancer for the best part of 2 decades.
Yeah. Wow.
You're telling me that she's not body aware?
Yeah.
Like, she is the most body aware person probably in the room, having done ballet and dance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what it was one of the contributing factors, and this is where we have to change the program, is she was over exaggerating the cue, because she's so aware of her body. She was told to push her hips back, so she was pushing her hips back as far as possible.
Right.
And obviously, if we push our hips back, if you stand on the spot and push your hips back as far as possible without squatting, you're gonna lean forwards.
Yeah, yeah.
So good morning. Yeah, exactly. So she's leaning forwards as she squats because she's pushing her hips back to the max degree. Oh. So now the next cue is, she's leaning forward. Keep your chest up. Now she's in a world of her, and she's got one of the worst squats you've ever seen.
Wow.
And literally all I did was put a ball underneath her and say, "I'll just sit down on that for me," and everything changed.
Wow.
Like literally the squat just completely became more upright because it was a natural movement. We weren't breaking the body down into segmented parts. We were just allowing the body to move as it naturally does. There's a lot of there's a girl or a doctor I should say called Gabrielle Wolf in the States, and she's written a book called Attention and Motor Learning Skill.
Right.
And what the whole kind of basis of the book is about is that it's about coaching cues and how we can mess up an athlete's performance via cueing. And when the body goes into, there's two types of cues, internal focus and external focus. So when we give internally focus-based cues, so when we make the athlete think about their body, performance outcome comes down.
All right. Great.
When we make them think about the external environment, so give them a cue like sit down, everybody knows how to sit down.
Yeah.
You give them that cue, and it's like, oh, it's a natural movement. Oh, touch your bum down on this.
Yeah.
So just look forwards. So you're not thinking about
really
the body.
It's really as functional as possible, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just we're not thinking about that body. Like an example I always use with people is because we tell, or coaches can get in a habit of saying, "Oh, squeeze your glutes." Like squeeze your glutes as hard as you can and try and walk, and let me know how that goes. Like we have literally just messed up walking by trying to squeeze a glute. Like we cannot, as beings, the brain isn't clever enough for us to actually think about how we move. We can't, there's too many muscles. The sequencing of that muscle pattern as we're walking, how do we know when to fire a glute relative to a hip flexor, relative to a hamstring? Like, how do we affect that timing? We can't say what that timing is. So that's that whole premise of just move and let the body show you what it does. And when we understand the body more, we can then start to go, okay, well, she shifts that way because that's the strong side, or the knee falls in because that's, is it a weak glute? Is it a tight muscle? Like what? And it's our job as coaches to understand, well, why would that body look that way when we're moving, so that we can then prescribe the right exercises to help correct the path, basically.
So, I mean, mate, obviously you do a lot of work in CrossFit. You've worked with some very good CrossFitters, except Phil Hesketh, who's pretty average. But, mate, and obviously we work a lot in CrossFit. This question is really sort of more of what people can do. We've just admitted all our mistakes as coaches, and we're using cues that people don't understand, and I think that's sort of across the board. But talk to us a little bit about what you see from a human being perspective on movement. Are people moving generally well? And how's our adaptability to the positions that we're putting people in a CrossFit environment?
I mean, the great thing about CrossFit is, like, well, the good and bad is it cares about movement. And we spend all that time in a workout, like prepping the body, teaching it to move well, and then you go to your 3, 2, 1, go finisher, and now it's just a shit show.
Yeah.
Everything people are just doing, it's like, get through the water as fast as I can, okay, and it's just
intensity.
It's intensity, and it's that thing of, is the body going to remember 1,000 bad reps or 20 good reps in a warm-up?
1,000 bad reps, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. If it's done bad reps more, then it's gonna remember the bad reps more than the good reps. And that's the game, because it's getting people to dial down when they need to, what they should be dialing down. But it's a
big struggle to move people from these like bad movement habits to new great movement patterns. I mean, once you've learned it wrong, then changing it is just
it's repetition.
a lot of work.
The guys I program for, like, I can tell you a lot of the week they're bored.
Right.
They're probably bored more than the week than they're having fun, because it's like, no, we do this again, and we do this again, and here's an empty bar. It's like, oh yeah, I'm at regionals. Yeah, no, it's okay. Here's an empty bar.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend the time doing that, and it's one of those where it's the application of the individual, and the members of the gym. Some of them are just there for fitness. They just want to work out. Some people aren't, like, we're the die-hard CrossFitters. They're the ones that found it, loved it, everything like that. Now people are doing CrossFit just because it's in the magazines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so they just turn up as, oh, I need to do this CrossFit thing.
Yeah.
So they just turn up for a workout.
So how do you differentiate between those two, mate? Obviously, you work, as we said, with some really top-level athletes, and I imagine anyone you see in the gym, you would love them to move perfectly, but you also understand that they're just there because they have a 9 to 5 and they want to work out 3 or 4 times a week, and CrossFit, for all its negatives, has a lot of benefits, community, etc., etc. So what do we do with those people as well?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, this is out there, but
Good.
if a guy deadlifts badly, like really badly, and he has done for 20 years, and you ask him, does that hurt your back doing that? He turns around and goes, no, I'm fine. Gives me no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
You go, oh, okay. You then spend the next 6 weeks trying to teach him to deadlift properly, and now his back hurts. Right. So here's the thing: are we safer trying to teach them to deadlift properly, or is it safer to ask the person to deadlift
like they're used
the
to?
way that they're used to, which is the way that they're strongest?
Yeah.
Like, that's the picture, that's that subconscious rather than the conscious, here's form. The actual unconscious, well, just move how your body wants to move, and actually that is the path of least resistance, and it is your strongest path. Is it right? No. But they're probably less likely to get injured by actually just letting them move how they want to move. And then the job as the coach then is okay, well, I'm just going to need to make this person safe. So am I going to allow him to do a 200 kilo deadlift looking like a hedgehog? Or am I just going to go, no, here's 100 and we'll just stay there? I'm not happy, but it's not too horrific.
Yeah.
I don't really think it answers the question, but
it does really, mate, because I think that it's like how much, a lot of the time, we take responsibility as coaches and we're trying to put people in different situations and trying to make them move well, but if that person's measure of success is getting through that workout, like you said, he's deadlifted like that for 20 years with no pain, well, he doesn't want to go to the CrossFit Games. He's just a recreational athlete that just wants to come in and work out and see his kids and play with his kids on the weekend. And like you said, if you're keeping him safe, then, I think we can be serving people better, but some people don't want to be served better, do they? I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah. You'll have, you've probably got a list of people that you can write down in your gym that are uncoachable. They are literally.
We should stick a list on the wall.
The uncoachable.
Yeah. We should just have them up there. You're uncoachable. You do what you want on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Listen to us. Friday, go home. It'd be brilliant.
But every our gym. We had a list of the uncoachables. That we just used to bang our heads against the wall in team meetings and stuff. And they just want to. Oh, I just want to shift the weight. I just want to do the workout. Yeah. Leave me alone. And it's like, right. You just get to a point where you just go, the coaches just left them alone.
Get on with it. Mate, we've so far spoken about 2 movements, squat and the deadlift, which, are hammered onto you at the CrossFit Level 1 course there. Talk to us through a few of your sort of points of view on the squat. You just came up with quite a good one there, sit on the ball and stuff, but like, we're getting cued in certain ways. CrossFit tells us to teach in certain ways. Are they the right ways? What's your view? Let's go squat and let's go deadlift, because they're probably two of the biggest
I've heard some good
movements.
stuff from you on some other podcasts about this.
On the squat,
let us hear it.
in fairness, with the squat, like I know people on the L1 seminars, and knees out has been given as a cue, but the thing with knees out as a cue is actually on the level 1 seminars is actually just knees out so that it's tracking over the toes.
Right.
There was some guy that wrote a book in the States who Kelly Starrett decided, even though he somehow says that he didn't tell the knees to go out wider than feet, that decided knees out was knees out as far as possible to max. Right. I mean, that is against human function. Like, it does, the knee doesn't work like that. Yeah. It's pushing that knee out.
Goodbye glutes.
Goodbye glutes. Oh, but the glutes are working because you're pushing your knees out, and that's the problem with how we look at the body, or how because all muscle function came from cadaver studies, where they cut somebody up and then they pull on the hamstring and go, oh well, the hamstring flexes the knee and the hamstring extends the hip, but that's the muscle just shortening. So therefore, we look at the glute and go, okay, well, the glute externally rotates, the glute abducts, and the glute extends the hip. So if I push my knees out, my glutes are working. But that is in a EMG bodybuilding for mass, like to build the mass of the glute. That's where that comes into play. The problem with actual human function is that muscles don't work on that shortening principle. They're actually reactive because they're elastic bands. So when the muscles, how do we make an elastic band create power? We create power by letting it lengthen. I have an elastic band here. So we allow that elastic band by pulling the ends apart. Now that creates some elastic response. So if you look at the orientation of the glute, it wraps around from the outside of the hip this way. So if the knees are actually to come inwards, then this creates, so internal rotation and valgus, this creates the load for the glute to explode. So even if our knees even if our knees are neutral, that is still internal rotation of the hip. Right. But when we're going outside the foot, so pronation of the foot is knees in and valgus. Whereas if we push those knees out and that foot supinates, now we're in external rotation and the glutes aren't working as much, which is why everybody, when they push the knees out, you'll get the feedback, oh, my groins hurt, my hip flexors hurt. Yeah. So everybody that pushes the knees out has groin problems and anterior hip pinches.
So is that why, like, when the squats get heavy and those cleans get super heavy, that the knees on the way up are just kissing each other and then going away?
Yeah, I mean,
naturally.
Exactly. I mean, look at the Olympic lifters; they're pretty good at it. Yeah, they're pretty good at squatting, and we can argue. I don't know, is it pound for pound? The Olympic weightlifters, they are stronger than strongmen. Yeah, like they're just big blokes that lift heavy weights, but it's probably still relative max. Yeah. So their knees come in naturally. Again, this goes on that. Well, I mean, that's not just them. That's all of us. Like, look at all your members. Yeah. You put them near max, and all the knees come in. Yeah, true. So that is the most natural thing in the world, and that's the body, again, going in that unconscious level and going, how do I get out of this problem? Well, if I let my knees pop in, I'll get more glute load, and now I'll be able to stand up properly. So, like I say, that knees out cue became, like CrossFit, the seminars, they just use it as a cue to go to neutral, but Kelly obviously told them to go too far. I've spoken to guys on the seminars, and we don't teach, this side of the world, they don't teach that, pushing the knees out to the extreme. It's just a cue given to everybody, but the problem is that when you give that cue to the group of people, like I say, we've now got the ballet dancer in the class. Yeah. The ballet dancer who heard you say knees out doesn't know whether she needs to push her knees out, but you said it, so she's now going to push her knees out as far as possible. Yeah. But maybe it's that thing of coaches is turning around and going, right, okay, well, that person needs to push the knees out. Yeah. is it the right thing to do? No, we need to work on the reason why the knees cave in.
Yeah.
But if you for the purpose of keeping them safe in the class, you actually just walk up to them on a quiet basis and go, push your knees out.
Right.
Rather than doing a global address of the group, and now you've got everybody pushing the knees out when 70% of the room don't need to. But yeah, that's how we moved away, or well, how that became accepted.
Interesting.
But I mean, when Kelly Starrett started, and I mean, you had sort of Kelly Starrett and a few others. I guess CrossFit and movement people in CrossFit didn't really exist until he sort of came on the scene, and he shared different perspectives on things, which then was interpreted in different ways. I think what's funny is that in the last sort of, maybe because he wrote his book and taught a load of seminars, made a load of money, and is now sat on an island doing nothing, but he seems quite quiet these days about sort of movement and what's going on. Maybe there's more research, maybe there's more, I don't know. What's...
Well, I think he's on to runners now, isn't he?
Right. Now he's taking all the money from CrossFitters.
So he's probably rewritten the book again, and now he's telling runners to run with the knees out.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean,
in his sprinters running down the thing like that.
In his defense, I think I remember seeing one clip on the journal, and he was talking about obviously moving the knee joint out to create torque through the hips and through the glutes, and to actually recruit more muscle. I don't know what,
but he's recruiting less muscle.
But exactly. He's doing the other way around.
Is that thing with that? Is that I've seen that picture?
Yeah,
I've seen that image of the torque of the hip. Let me see if I can. So you've kind of got. So if you've got the hip wrapped up here.
Yeah.
So he was saying, how can I do that? So if this is the front of the joint, if I externally rotate and create torque, like here's the torque on the front of the hip.
Yeah.
But he's looking at the hip from one angle.
Right.
Like that's purely from the front. Obviously, like the capsule is surrounding the whole joint. So if I just turn that around and we're looking from behind, if I now internally rotate, now I've got torque on the back of the joint.
Right.
So it's one of those where, well, the torque's on the back. What's attached to the back are the glutes. Yeah. Well, there's my internal rotation. There's my torque on the glutes. There's the glute load.
Right.
So he's kind of like, you're looking at a three-dimensional being that is us.
Yeah.
But he's literally looking at it from the front and going, well, I do this, I create torque. It's like, well, if I do this, I create torque.
Yeah.
If I do this, like, torque is just a rotation around the axis in any direction, so we'll create torque in different angles. So wrong.
Let's stop bashing Kelly Starrett. Or do you want
at
to bash
the level
it once
one?
more?
There's also the wall squat where you have to stand up against the wall, your toes to the wall, hands above your head, try to squat down without touching the wall with your hands. In that, you need to push your knees so excessively wide out. What's your thoughts on that? Would you ever use that for your squat clinic or how to teach the squat?
I wouldn't know. Like again, I keep things simple. Like my job as coach is to go. It's to just it's everyone sit down. So I actually just I get everybody with a PVC pipe. So I put the PVC pipe overhead to create that thoracic kind of stress. And then I just get them to squat with different in a generic format. Like I don't particularly like generic because I can't. Different people need different things. Yeah. But I do have a small generic warm up where you squat with different foot positions. And this comes from like the Gray Institute learning and things like that. So we call it a squat matrix, but I just stick a PVC pipe overhead to make it that bigger challenge. And it's amazing. Sometimes literally people go from not being able to overhead squat a PVC pipe, and then within 10 minutes they're doing it. Wow. It's not always like, that's not 100% like, oh, bet my life on it. You'll just get the one person, the one or two people where all of a sudden like the squat just opens up straight away. Yeah. So I teach it like that. I mean that wall squat if it wasn't as strict, is not a bad thing, but it can become more about, like what you've said there, people avoiding the wall.
Yeah.
So they want to get below parallel because that's the standard, right? So they're all just trying to get below parallel. So they start, as the workout goes on, they go, well, if I take my feet really wide and now I turn my toes out and now I push my hips really far back, now I can get really deep. But now they've moved away from where they'd squat.
Yeah.
They're still getting a good, they're stretching, so to speak, because they're putting that much stress on the body. So, and it does, you will see some transfer into the squat, of course. But it becomes that you're making them squat in a position that actually isn't their squat. You're just making them avoid a wall.
Mate, I've seen quite a few people that you work with, and all I really see them doing, and like you said, a lot of the same thing, but one thing that I really see them doing a lot of is lunging in every single direction, every single variation of lunge ever. Talk to us through a bit of that, because I don't see them doing any sort of static stuff. It's all very movement-based, what they're doing. So talk to us a little bit about your approach and why you get people to move in certain ways and what ways you get them to move.
Well, I mean, when we can understand the body well enough, then human movement is broken down. The gym environment and the way we've kind of taught things is I'm doing a strength exercise, or I'm doing a flexibility exercise, I'm doing a stability exercise, and it's always just that, here's my bias. But when we're actually moving, we are displaying. So if we go into a lunge, let's just talk about the forward lunge. The front leg, the glute, is learning to stabilize the hip, and it's also providing strength. It's also getting a little bit of a stretch because we're getting hip flexion, we're getting internal rotation, and we're getting adduction. So there's a loading and a strength element from the left glute. But now if we go to the right hip, anterior hip, we're now getting a stretch on the right hip flexor. So as I go through that lunge, I'm getting a stretch, and I'm getting strength at the same time.
Right.
So, but also that's in a coordinated pattern. So everything is learning together. If I just lie down, and I do give stretches, my athletes do have stretches. If I'm like, well, that area of the hip's tight, we need to stretch it to give it a little bit more motion. But immediately we teach it, okay, here's the motion that we've given you. Now here's the movement to help retrain.
Because there's no point of being, mobile without being strong in those joints, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of people. I mean, your yogis. The amount if you think about, say, what poses have we got, warrior pose or any of those kind of things, when they go into those poses in a class, a lot of the time it's they're shuffling the feet, and then they get the feet stable, and then now they sink into the squat. If you get them to actually lunge, it's not coordinated because they're so used to, I need to get everything nice and stable first, and now I can do the lunge. But if you actually just ask them to move dynamically, they actually sometimes they look like they have less control than somebody that just lunges all the time. It's that thing. Whilst I'm moving, I'm getting those stretches, I'm getting that strength, I'm getting that stability, and the important thing is that all those muscles are neurologically, because I'm stood up and I'm moving, they're all learning and having a conversation that we can't even comprehend. Whereas if we just stretch on its own, we just do, let's say glute strength. So let's go, we just do a hip bridge. That's the glutes working on their own relative to biggest focus is on the glutes. But what is that teaching? Then likewise, if we go to a stretch, okay, the hip flexor's been learning how to be flexible, but it doesn't know how to work relative to anything else at what time. So that's why we do the lunge, and then the different directions allow us to open up and go, actually, if I lunge over here, I'm going to get a stretch here now. I'm going to get a strength of the glute in a different plane as well, because that's we talk about planes of motion.
Yeah.
Training is very, very straight lined, but muscles work in three planes of motion. So we've got sagittal, forward and backwards, frontal plane, side to side, and then transverse plane. People might get a bit confused with the frontal plane there because we've got two types of referencing. We've got medical referencing, viewing from the sagittal plane.
Right.
So we talk about the frontal plane in CrossFit. You're viewing someone from the side.
Yes.
So the frontal plane is viewing from the side, but actually what are we observing? We're observing the sagittal plane motion.
Yeah.
So there's a distinct difference between sagittal plane, frontal plane, transverse plane motion versus viewing joints and bones in those planes. So yeah, when we do a side lunge, now that glute's learning how to control lateral motion, not just straight line motion. So that's why, short answer. That's why lunges in many directions.
It's obviously something that you believe in, you've prescribed to a lot of people. But how long have you been using sort of that approach to, because you said it builds strength in those areas, it also stretches the muscle in those areas. How long have you been using it, and how long does it take to sort of notice a difference for people? If someone's listening and going, yeah, that makes loads of sense what James is saying, let's get into it, we're going to lunge in different motions, what can they expect?
I mean, the results can be insanely quick.
Right.
Can be. They can just unlock somebody like straight away. I've been doing this stuff now since 2008.
Right.
I think I was first exposed to it in 2007. So I've been doing it a long time. So I've been angry for a long time, especially when Kelly.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's it can literally change people kind of straight away.
Really?
I'm not sure whether I've got the squat matrix on my YouTube channel that people could try, but I did a seminar recently, and like I say, I went through the principles of how the body works and how it's all individual and everything like that. And the whole seminar was based on the fact that if we understand the principles and how the body works, then we can choose the right exercises for the right person.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, all everybody was, what do I do for this? And it's like, well, yeah. Here's a better, it's generic. Here's a better way of warming up.
Yes.
Than rolling on your foam roller and doing.
Let's talk about the foam rollers. Come on. I'm interested to get your opinion on those because I can't imagine it's going to be very normal. Where's a good place for a foam roller in a gym?
In the trash?
Doorstop.
Doorstops
are all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I've like people are like, oh, you can't bag foam. I've used foam rollers. This was my brain. I kind of go through those. Like, I've been in the industry now since 2005, and I use foam rollers. I did that whole, you need to self-myofascial release and then stretch it, and now you'll improve motion. And I did not see the return for the time invested by the person into an actual change in motion. Yeah. It's like, the only thing that they said was, it doesn't hurt when I roll on it anymore. Like that was the guarantee. Oh, my muscle doesn't hurt when I roll on the foam roller. Okay, squat for me. Ooh.
Still pain.
Yeah. Still doesn't look great. Still looks the same. So the thing is, like, we can't change fascia via, like, besides the fact it's not a stretch. Yeah. Like, it's not stretching anything. You're compressing it. Yeah. You aren't stretching it. So that whole advertising on, oh yeah, this increases range. How? You're literally just pushing down and then rolling on it. You're just flattening the muscle against the bone. Like, it's not actually changing any of the tissue. The only thing it's doing is desensitizing your pain receptors more than anything. And we can argue whether is that a good thing or not. It's this really hurts. Now let's desensitize your pain receptors. You go in there, move exactly the same, annoy the same structures, and guess what? You still need to foam roll.
Yeah.
So every single session, you need to foam roll to desensitize your, or hockey ball, whichever one you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to desensitize your rotator cuff. Like, why would you want to desensitize your rotator cuff before you go and do something overhead with swinging on a bar or pressing something overhead? Like, oh yeah, let's just relax this muscle neurologically.
Yeah.
That's great.
Big thumbs
Well
up.
done.
So, mate, talk to us.
My label went weird.
Talk to us a little bit about what you. I mean, there's a lot of theory, and I think it's really useful stuff, and I'm sure people will get a lot out of it. Talk to us about what you do now. How do you work? Who do you work with? What do you teach? Do you teach seminars? Do you teach at a gym? Talk to us through all of
that. Well, yeah. I mean, I work primarily one-to-one.
Right.
I coach athletes, and then people just come in for their assessments. I am actually this year we are starting the seminar series.
Right.
Me and my friend, my mentor, business partner. Yeah, we are going into there. So the guy that taught me this 8 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it's longer than that. 11 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, we're now starting to do seminars. There's going to be a variety of seminars between seminars for athletes and then seminars for coaches.
Yeah.
The main focus is going to be the athlete because most people want to help themselves. So yeah, seminars are in the pipeline. They're
Awesome.
in for the back end of the year.
Right.
Over here initially. So yeah, but no, mainly just one-to-one and like I say, coaching athletes, mainly CrossFit.
And that includes in programming and assessments and everything.
Yeah. I do the full program. So like Samantha Briggs, Elliot Simmons from Yaz.
Yeah.
I've got Jordan Wallace.
Yeah.
I've got, who else have we got? Rob Lawson, who's a master now.
Nothing wrong with masters. I'm also a master.
Mate,
I have to be careful.
The masters are they're the impressive ones. To do what they do. Like the question is, like I say, it's like I want to see how long we can keep people going for.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause that's what, like being the beast at 21 and winning the CrossFit Games. All right, you can sit back on your bank wedge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
What do you think? Let's go into that a little bit. What do you think because there's nothing really like CrossFit that is being kicking around. We combine weightlifting, we combine everything, as we know. So we don't really know what the long-term physical effects on the human body are. What's your thoughts on, I don't know how old Rich Froning is now, but when he sort of was at the games, 23, 24, what sort of shape will his body be in when he's 40?
Be worn down.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's the thing. Like that, we're dying machines anyway.
Right.
Like, we are all wearing down. Like it is. I think you might as well do something and enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. How any high level athlete doesn't have a body that's in a particularly good state across any sport, and we've all got different. Obviously, you go to swimmers. What did they have? They had swimmer's shoulder. You've got runners. Oh, I've got runner's knee. I've got no cartilage in my knee. Like, go across the sports, and we've all got associated injuries in every single sport.
Yeah.
CrossFit is young. The thing is, obviously, what part of the body does CrossFit not use?
Yeah.
It uses everything. So are we going to see worn down knees, worn down hips, worn down lower backs, worn down shoulders? Yes.
Yeah, right.
We're going to see all of it. And it's that thing of you ask an athlete, okay, you're going to not be able to walk when you're 40, but you won the CrossFit Games. Will they take that ticket? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's more important that people understand that you're not an athlete.
Right.
Well, you're a recreational athlete.
Yeah.
You're doing this for fun, and we're in the fitness and health industry. Like, you need to
a lot of people need to wake up on that.
Yeah, you don't need to be doing 4 hours training a day. You need to be doing an hour's training a day.
Yeah.
And just looking after your body because you want to be able to do things you want to be able to pick up your grandkids. You want to be able to do all that. It's looking at you as an athlete and going, where am I? What am I doing? Do I really need my body to? We don't know the effects, but there isn't a sport in the world that doesn't break you down. So people saying CrossFit is bad for you. I played football, scanned my hips and knees, and I stopped at the age of 20, but I bet my body's pretty messed up.
What talking about CrossFit? Obviously, you're quite heavily focused on CrossFit. Do you work in any other sports, mate, or do you have sort of any views on what you've learned through functional fitness for other sports? Like, if you knew it now, you'd be a lot better soccer player or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've worked with a couple of professional rugby players,
right,
and a few professional footballers now as well. Yeah. So yeah, I've helped them. I've got a sprinter that I program for. She's a master, and that's pretty fun. But yeah, no, I work across other sports, but obviously I work in a CrossFit gym.
Yeah,
CrossFit's a big internet viral.
There's a lot of things to fix there as well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things to fix, and like I say, people talking CrossFit, so I get a lot of CrossFitters coming through my door. I do work with other sports as well.
Yeah,
very cool. And those professionals.
If you could give one piece of advice that you've learned or been given, what would it be?
Piece of advice.
For all the best bit of advice for CrossFitters.
For CrossFitters.
Yeah. From all of this last sort of 15 years of your work and trying to, prove your theories and stuff, what's the most interesting?
Yeah, great question. What type of CrossFit?
You can't buy any more time.
In fairness, no, actually, here you go.
Right.
I did this on a master's seminar. I was briefly did that. I was asked to speak on that. I said, you want to perform better in CrossFit? You need to move well.
Right.
You want to live long? You want to live longer? Oh, sorry. You want to not live longer? I can't give you eternal life. You want to be doing this stuff in 20 years' time. Yeah. You need to move well. Right. Focus on moving well, looking after the body, doing the right things. You'll perform better and you'll last longer.
Awesome.
Like that's the biggest. It is across that covers all spectrums.
Yeah, very cool.
Good answer,
mate. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can do it? Over on your website? Is that the best place?
Website. They can do the website. Instagram. The people I actually don't Instagram because I only just discovered that there's messages on there.
Right.
I haven't had an account for like 2 years.
Right.
Facebook. A lot of people contact over Facebook.
Awesome.
That can be apologies in advance for the slowness in getting back. But yeah, that's generally how we take.
Easy. That's good. I'm sure that from this, I'm sure people will have some questions. And obviously, if you're back in the UAE, we'd love to have you over here in Dubai. I think the way that you talk about stuff would resonate with a lot of people here. Yeah. And obviously, if you've got a seminar to deliver towards the back end of the year, it'd be great to have it here in Dubai as well. I think you'd be able to help a lot of people, mate.
Great. Be good. I think I'm due over to June. I think the goal is.
Okay.
Yeah. We can talk about that for sure.
We'll try and tee it up. Yeah.
In terms of questions, if people send a question and it's I've got this problem, what do I do? I'm gonna say I don't know. I've not seen them. I can't see you move. Yeah. I don't know why that area is annoyed. Yeah. So
do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, you do. No, in fairness, no, not too much. But it is a question to be, what do I do for this problem? I have no idea because that could come from, I don't know your sporting history. I don't know your injury history. I don't know a million factors about you, and I've not actually seen you execute and actually move. So, if people are just in, I don't know. People want to ask me my favourite food, send that across, but I actually
can answer that.
I can't answer you a question on what do I do for this,
mate. That's there's a lot. I think from that, it's been really awesome for us, and I think a lot for people to think about. Definitely quite a fresh perspective and a very positive one as well, mate. I think you said it there. If you want to live long, move better. If you want to perform better, move better. I think that's really what it comes down to. So, mate, massive value for us and for all of our listeners. And as we said, hopefully when you're over next, we can get you to here at InnerFight and
for sure
teach some people and share what seems like a really straightforward but effective message that you've got.
Thanks so much for taking your time.
Thanks for listening to me drone on.
No, mate.
I can go a little bit when you let me go.
Oh, mate, we could actually double the length of the show, but it's mate. I think it's super basic stuff that you speak about, and just a different way. And I think everyone could learn something from the last 45 minutes. So we appreciate you taking the time, mate. That's awesome.
Thanks again for having me.
Awesome, cool. Well, we'll catch you soon, James. Stay in touch and let us know about seminars and stuff, and hopefully we'll get some over. When you're going to Yas in June, did you say?
Yes, in June, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get you here to InnerFight as well, and get you fixing some people's problems here. I'm sure you'd love it.
Cool. Yeah, no, for sure.
All right,
See
mate.
you soon.
Cool, thanks a lot. Cheers,
guys.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot for tuning into this episode of the podcast, folks. Do hope you've enjoyed it, and a massive thanks to James for all of his knowledge and sharing. Remember to rate and review the podcast. Let us know you've done it, winninginnerfight.com, and we'll send you a goodie bag from Swiss Street Patio. Until next time, take care.